So, did you enjoy Bhamati's story? There is a small request from my side. I want you to share Bhamati's story to at least two people, one from family and one from friend. Will you do that? Okay. So now we are getting into the fundamentals, and here these fundamentals are from the scriptures perspective. You might have heard so many things like sutra, bhashya, shloka, mantra, so many things, right? So what we are going to do now here is to explain the basic difference between all these things so that when we enter into the text or when we talk about the scriptures, you will understand where what scripture belong. Okay. I have designed this entire program keeping you in mind, where you have so much of Shraddha towards ancient Indian scripture, but you have no idea about how exactly the design is, how exactly the hierarchy is. So here we are going to use the method known to unknown. You would have definitely heard the word mantra, right? So mantra is the very, very common, most misused word, because mantra doesn't mean always, in serials, mythological serials, we see, right? Somebody pours water and say, Shunaka Bhava, dog Bhava, then that person will become dog. No, mantra is not always something to be cursed or something to be, got as a boon. Mantra means mananat trayate. So, in a simple word, if I want to say, if anybody wants to know the meaning of the word mantra, then it is simple. Whichever is powerful and whichever is from Vedas are called mantras. Veda Vakya, they say, right? I listen to him as Veda Vakya. My role model says, therefore I follow. And here they say Veda Vakya. For me, his words are Veda Vakya. That means there is mantra. That means it's very important. So whatever texts are available in Vedas are called as mantras. Simple definition. Now, don't ask what is Veda. We will discuss that in the future slides. Now, mantra means the sentences or words or paragraphs or whatever it is which is coming from Vedic text is called mantra. Now, what is sutra? You might have heard Yoga Sutra or Kama Sutra or Bhakti Sutra. So, sutra means, in a simple term, sutra means thread which connects so many beads. Here, what a sutra means? Here, sutra means formula. Like, for example, there can be E is equal to MC square. It's a very small formula. But is it small in reality? Definitely no, right? It can be, explained for hours and it can be researched for years. Exactly. So the intensity of a sutra is also exactly the same, but much bigger than that. There are different conditions, definitions for sutras. Alpaksharam, Asandigdham. I'm not going in detail to all the technical stuff. This is just a preliminary introduction. I am not here to scare you off with so many Sanskrit terms. So sutra is something where you find a small two, three words of combination or a one liner or maximum two liner where it can have a zipped information of four, five books. There are people, those who lived to experience one sutra of Yoga Sutra. It's that vast. There is one sutra, Ahimsa Satyamasteyam Aparigraham. This one sutra in Yoga Sutra. Here, the first word is called Ahimsa. And that word Ahimsa stands for Harishchandra's whole life, Mahatma Gandhiji's life. So there are so many, atomic potential energies are hidden and zipped into small words and sentences, and that is called a sutra. So there are few authors, rishis, those who wrote not paragraphs or pages, but they wrote in nutshell. That's their style of conveying the message, and that is called sutra. And whatever is from Vedas are called mantras. And here comes the shloka. What is shloka? You might have heard Shuklam Baradaram Vishnum Shashivarnam, all the prayer songs, it is a poetic poems, right? So all that is called a shloka. Bhagavad Gita is in shloka form. The entire Mahabharata, Bhagavata, Purana. So 90% of the content, 95% of the contents are in shloka format. Shloka means what? It has a rhythm. It has a limitation of letters in every line, and there are different types of shlokas. 2-line shlokas, 4-line shlokas, 8-letter line shlokas, 16-letter letters line shlokas. So the different designs and formats and styles and conditions apply, blah blah. So shlokas are 95%. Majority of the contents are in shloka form. Then comes the intense zipped format, that is a sutra, and then whatever is coming from Vedas are called mantras. Now you may ask, the Vedic mantras are having the shloka kind of a rhythm, or they don't have rhythm, or it is like a poem or like essay. So for the time being, let us not discuss that, because Vedas are vast and there are different styles used. To be frank, they have their own new design of conveying the message in a different grammatical structure. So let us not complicate things. Just remember this: mantras are from Vedas, sutras are zipped capsules, and then comes the shloka, which is in a poetic form. Now, one more thing we will discuss here, though we may not discuss in detail, but we will just have a small introduction. Man-made, human-made contents are sutras and shlokas. So if you say shloka, that means a human being created it. If you say sutra, that means a human being created. And human being, I mean not people like me and you. Maybe not, I should not involve you, right? So I don't know you. So normal human beings can't write, great words. Obviously, they are all great souls, without doubt. But it is at the end of the day, man-made. But whereas in the mantra part, the Vedas part, the Vedic hymns, the Vedic mantras are not written by any human being. We will discuss that when we discuss about mantras. Just you have this basic understanding, we will discuss further. So mantras are not man-made, and sutras and shlokas are man-made. Now you may ask, what is bhashya? Bhashya means commentary. Commentary on sutra is bhashya. Commentary on shloka is also bhashya. Commentary is called bhashya. There are so many other things: tippani, tika, vartika. We are not going in detail. Footnote. Commentary on the bhashya. There are so many other technical things. We need to understand one thing: ancient Indians were amazing people in documentation. Normally, people say, we don't document things at all. The Britishers do all the documentation. Never. We don't read Indian scriptures. That is the only answer, if at all, I want to say. Because documentation is amazingly done by our masters. We have done in our own style. We don't do in the way the Westerners do today. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a documentation. Our kind of documentation is completely different. And one more thing here I want to tell. Here you see shlokas, right? Shlokas are poetic form, right? Poem comes from art form. And if you take MBBS textbook today in a medical college, it will be of big books with so many paragraphs. If you go to law, it will be filled with big books with paragraphs and pages and prose, right? But in ancient India, they never separated art form and science form. So all the people, those who are amazingly potential with their left brain, they were at the same time also capable of using their right brain. So creativity, art, poem, poets. So they all were poets. Can you believe ancient Indian medical doctors were writing poems as their contribution to the field? The entire Charaka and Shushruta Maharshi's documentation on their medical discoveries all are in poems. Can you imagine a dictionary in a collection of poems? Amarakosha, the Sanskrit dictionary, is in the form of poem, and this shows that they really enjoyed life. They never separated the enjoyment and learning. They had an amazing chemistry between the left brain and the right brain.